what are some best practices to maximizing a student's engagement with you so that they can get the best of it and so that it's not wasting your time or inadvertently maybe offending you? So Vanessa.
This is actually doing really well. I'm piggybacking on what Maria said, but like come with a plan. I think the one thing that frustrates me when I am recruiting for a position are people who reach out, but they don't know what they're reaching out for. And they expect me to do the work to connect the dots as to what the best opportunity for them looks like. And that is not the role of the recruiter, to be honest. My role is to listen to your experiences, listen to, your goals and kind of what you aspire to do, and see if this potential role is a good fit in helping you connect the dots to get to that next step. So I always say you have to do your work on the front end to help me help you best. Really identify your skill sets, your strengths, even those growth areas, and how you stand out as a candidate that we must hire you and you are the perfect candidate because of XYZ. It all goes back to kind of like that self-reflection and doing that self-assessment and doing that work yourself, to then when you have that chance to speak to a recruiter and get in front of us, like you already know some things that you want to touch on. You already know some selling points that you want to get across. So it's not like we're pulling teeth and trying to, figure it out and put together this puzzle with the limited 15-minute conversation that we have.
And that's not to say to just jump in. I really appreciate you all talking about self-assessment, because one of the things that I would encourage students to do is to really look inward and just to really think about their value system, their strengths, but everything they have going for them so they can be prepared to engage in a conversation with a recruiter or another person in the industry. So good stuff. All right, anybody else want to chime in? Yes, Nohan.
I think it's really great, Vanessa, you brought that up. I think the biggest thing as people that are looking for that job or that internship, don't ask for the job, don't ask for the internship, ask for the journey. And I think that it's in the journey that you're going to find out what it really takes. And really, you're getting a different angle of maybe what that employer went through to be able to say, do I resonate? Am I aligned where they're at? So I think for me, and it was brought up earlier, I think the biggest part of this is one of the questions I know that we tend to ask, no matter on the corporate side or the retail level side, is we do actually ask, tell us what you did, either professionally or personally, to develop yourself in the past year. So let's go present tense now. What have you done in the past 6 months to get better at? So I'm very transparent. I don't know if that's just the Puerto Rican in me, but I'm gonna keep it real right now. So I went through COVID. I had pneumonia, and I'm grateful that I survived it. And while I was quarantined, I was on COVID pay leave, which I'm grateful for my company, as many of these companies have those great benefits. And one of the things was do I just sit around? No, I don't. I created a Skillshare account, and I wanted to learn how to edit videos and edit podcasts. So I think a lot of the things that what we're asking you guys to do is hey, self-development is key. We need you to not just be these amazing leaders and employees, but we need thinkers, we need dreamers, we need creatives. That's what's really going to make the difference, right? The game-changing moment for any one of us here as a company. So I would ask you is that seek out the development. LinkedIn, if you sign up for a pro, they have amazing workshops of how do you ask for an informational, ask 30 minutes. I will say that, yeah, we're not at your school. I may not be doing a job fair presently, but I do got extra time for me on my hands virtually. I can fit in a 20-minute informational, but to Vanessa's point, you'll stay ready so you have to get ready, right? Come with your questions and just ask for the journey.
Very good stuff. And just want to say, Nohan, I'm glad that you're doing better. All right, Jenny?
Yeah, so Ron, you're asking, how can students engage with recruiters in a virtual environment? And I love that question because I was fortunate enough to actually be the first real virtual recruiter at BDO before COVID even happened. So it was one of these situations where we had a need to centralize our businesses and our practice and our recruiting practices for these business lines, but we didn't have anybody to do that nationally on a national scope. So I did that starting a year ago. And I can tell you in the beginning, it was really awkward, to have a meaningful relationship with candidates that, you know, we can do virtually versus being at a Meet the Firms or a career fairs where you get to like be face to face with somebody. So my advice to the students here today is, first of all, follow instructions for these virtual events. As a recruiter who's attending tons of events, screening tons of resumes, like one of the things that can easily just kind of make you an automatic no is someone who's not following instructions for these virtual events and the application process. So with that too, is with the application process in itself, part of engaging with the recruiter in a virtual environment is that, I mean, you're not going to get an interview if you don't even get past the application, right? So to get past that application, give us everything. You know, if we're asking you for your GPA on the application, even if it's a 2.9, like put it on there, because otherwise we'll just automatically, you know, decline you if you don't meet our requirements. And that way, at least we get to that point where, like I said earlier, you get to tell us your story. So to me, engaging in a virtual environment, honestly, it's like get past the basics with applications and, you know, communications and instructions so that we can get to the fun part and get to that stage where we can potentially hire you.
Good stuff. So just recapping real quick, come with a plan. Don't make the recruiter do all the work. You do your work on the front end. Don't ask for a job or internship. Ask for the journey. And then self-development is key. So look for those opportunities. And then finally, just, you know, do the basics, follow instructions that are put out there for virtual events. Okay, great. Tiffany or Philip, do any of you want to chime in at all?
Yeah, I was going to say something. I mean, it's been a lot of great input, and I think our panelists have covered, as I like to say, because I'm originally from the Midwest, the meat and potatoes of what I think students need to kind of get from the responses. What I will say is what I think is very important is that, you know, we focus a lot on, you know, from the student perspective, you know, how do I stand out to this company? How do I get them to like me and want to hire me? But I think students lose sight of they should also be interviewing these companies, right? So we're in a very crazy time right now. You alluded to it earlier, Ron. You know, students in some cases are maybe in a little bit of a panic. Maybe they're getting ready to graduate. They're like, I just want a job. My friends lost internships. I'm graduating. I'm scared. I just want the security of a job. And I think students have to remember to not lose sight of, you are wanting to make sure that these companies, so these panelists are here representing myself and other companies are representing our respective companies, but we should also be impressing you. And I always encourage students to, going back to a point that I heard Vanessa say earlier, is creating a plan, is I tell students, you should identify what is important to you when you start to look at a company. It has to be more than just base compensation, right? Because you can make the salary that you want and be unhappy. For me, you know, I have a family, so what's important to me is work-life balance. What's important to me is if I need to take time off, I can. But I tell students, it will be different for every student, what you hold most important. But what I ask them to do is to identify those things. And as you are starting to interview with companies, you need to be making sure that despite you wanting and needing a job, that company is aligning with those things that are important to you.
Great stuff, and I like that too. In a time when there's a sense of desperation and just to grab something, but just remember that no, it's a two-way street. They're evaluating you, but you should be evaluating them for the best fit. Great stuff, Tiffany. Philip, anything you want to add before we move on?
Sure. So a couple of things. One is practice, right? The way that you engage on your phone and the way you hold your phone while you're, you know, using Zoom or some other MS Teams is going to be a little bit different from the way that you would probably want to do it, you know, when you're in this type of setting, right? So making sure that, you know, the angle presents you well, something as simple as that, right? Are you standing? I would even suggest standing. I see, you know, John with the Kings is standing. Right? I was trying to stand too. I couldn't find, I couldn't get the office that I needed to stand, but just different things that really present you in such a way that you come off energetic, right? You come off interested, you come off engaging, you show a little bit of personality. And there's ways that, you know, obviously you can practice those things before you get on these calls, right? Because you may not get the opportunity again, you know, with that particular company if you bomb it. So just making sure that you practice. Another thing is recognizing, I would say, just be prepared or expect the unexpected, right? The times that we're in today, you really do have to come fully prepared for anything, right? You guys saw I had audio issues. That's no excuse, right? Find a way, get earbuds, whatever you have to do. I had to literally go on Google and find out what's the call-in number for Zoom because there wasn't a standard one provided. But those are the type of things that you really have to do to make sure that you're prepared, because anything can happen, right? Your network go out. If you're having choppy network issues, make sure that you have a secondary backup, a place that you can go use the school, right? Whatever you need to do to make sure that there's no excuses about, oh, I missed out. You can be the best candidate, but if they don't have the best experience with you due to technical difficulties, you can be eliminated. So just making sure that you're prepared and practice as much as you can beforehand.
Great stuff, Philip.